welcome back. Our new book we started last time was a book called The Chocolate Touch by Patrick Skene Catling. Yesterday, in the first part, we learned about a boy named John Midas, and John loves candy. He loves every kind of candy, and all he wants to eat is candy, and all he likes is candy, and his favorite candy is chocolate. His mom and dad took him to the doctor, and the doctor said, the boy eats too much candy, you need to give him some medicine. Then something strange happened, and John found a coin on the sidewalk, and he goes into the chocolate shop that he's never seen before, and he buys a box of chocolates. So that night, if you remember, he eats the only chocolate in the entire box, which was strange. So now we're on chapter 3. The birds were chirping in the tree outside John's window, and the sky beyond was deep blue. The bedroom door opened a few inches. "Hey, Sleepy," Miss Midas called. "Everyone else is up." John put on his bathrobe and slippers and ambled to the bathroom. His sister Mary was still brushing her teeth, and he had to wait until she was finished. "Come on, Mary," he said a little crossly. "Don't take all morning." "Here you are," Mary said, handing him the toothpaste tube. While Mary soaped her face, John squeezed a little of the toothpaste onto his brush. The paste was pink. John made a face at his toothbrush. It didn't seem fair that he should have to brush his teeth with stuff that tasted just like his tonic. A stinky taste, he called it. John opened his mouth and pushed in the end of the toothbrush. As soon as it touched his front teeth, he noticed a delicious sweetness in his mouth. A taste of the best kind of chocolate. He pushed the brush to and fro, and the taste seemed to grow even stronger. He removed the brush. The bristles were brown. "What kind of toothpaste is this?" John asked. Mary was drying her face. "The same kind," she answered. "It says it on the tube." "Blanco Dent," John read. It was the same kind they had always had. "Why, it's chocolate flavored this time," he asked. "Why is that?" "Boy, it's good." "Silly," Mary said. "Of course it isn't chocolate." She hung up her towel and swished out of the bathroom. John squeezed some more toothpaste onto his brush and continued to brush his teeth. Chocolate again. It was marvelous, rich, sweet, smooth chocolate, chocolatey chocolate, like the single piece of chocolate from the box the night before. There seemed to be no further need for the toothbrush, so John rinsed it and hung it up. He squeezed out another bit of toothpaste, onto the fingertip this time. He put his finger in his mouth and ate the toothpaste off. When he took his finger out again, it was stained chocolate brown. John wasted no more time. He put the end of the toothpaste tube in his mouth and emptied the paste onto his tongue. It squeezed out like thick, creamy chocolate. Mary looked in the bathroom. "What are you doing?" she demanded. "Yummy," was all John said. John and Mary were a little late getting to the dining room, and Mr. Midas was already on the way to his train when they sat down at the breakfast table. "John ate all the toothpaste," Mary told their mother. Here's a picture of Mary and John at the bathroom. John squeezing the toothpaste tube, eating all the toothpaste, eating toothpaste. It's crazy. "Oh, you sneak," John whispered. "Well, you did," Mary reminded him, "and that's a waste. Isn't it a waste, Mother, to eat all the toothpaste in one day?" Miss Midas was serving their orange juice. "Mary, really?" she said. "I'm sure John was only joking. He must have been pretending to eat the toothpaste." "No, he wasn't," Mary insisted. "I was watching and I saw him squeeze it right into his mouth. He said it was chocolate." "Oh, dear," protested Miss Midas. "Chocolate again? Now I know it was a joke. He just wished it were chocolate, Mary. Come now, drink up your orange juice, both of you. Your bacon and eggs will be ready in a minute." As Miss Midas left the room, John took up his glass of orange juice and put it to his lips. As soon as he tilted it and the liquid began to flow into his mouth, a happy look came into his eyes. "Boy, that's good," he said at the last, lowering the empty glass. "Chocolate juice." Mary looked at John, then she looked at her glass of orange juice. It was bright orange color. She tasted it. It tasted like orange to her. "It's not chocolate juice," she said. "It's orange juice. Orange juice is good for you." "Yes, John," Miss Midas said, hearing the last few words as she carried in the tray of bacon and eggs. "You must drink your..." She caught sight of John's empty glass. "John," she said, "you good boy." "Excuse me. That's the first time in ages you finished your orange juice without having to be told to." "It tasted of chocolate," John explained. "All right," Miss Midas said. "Very funny, but don't tease Mary too much. Remember, Mary's younger than you are." John silently picked up his fork and sliced the yolk of his fried egg. The yellow broke over the white, and he shivered as he watched it, as he always did. "I can't eat this," he told his mother. "Of course you can," Miss Midas said. "You drank your orange juice. Try to eat your bacon and egg." John scraped up a small piece of egg and put it into his mouth. It immediately became chocolate. Chocolate, white and chocolate yolk. Both lovely, lovely chocolate. John mumbled. Chocolate egg. In almost no time, he had finished every scrap of the egg on his plate. Then he tried the bacon. The bacon turned into chocolate too. John had never before enjoyed his breakfast so much. After the orange juice that had turned to chocolate juice in his mouth and fried bacon and egg that had turned to fried chocolate, he ate 2 slices of chocolate toast with chocolate butter and chocolate marmalade and washed down with a glass of chocolate milk. "I'm very pleased with you this morning," Miss Midas said as she helped John on with his coat. "If you promise to eat your lunch at school as well as you ate your breakfast, I'll give you a dime to buy some chocolates with." "Oh, that's all right," John said. "I don't think I'll need it." Miss Midas looked puzzled as she waved goodbye. John had the bad habit of chewing things when he was thinking hard. This morning, this is chapter 4, by the way. This morning, he had several things to think about. What had made that toothpaste taste like chocolate? What had made the orange juice taste like chocolate? What had made the bacon and egg taste like chocolate? What had made the toast and the butter and the marmalade taste like chocolate? Each one of these things had felt the way it had always felt before. The toothpaste had been soft and pasty. The bacon had been hot, crisp, and oily. The toast had been crunchy, and the marmalade sticky and lumpy. But everything had tasted like the chocolate he had eaten in bed last night. John put a gloved thumb in his mouth and thoroughly chewed. His mother had frequently pointed out to him that chewing his gloves made little holes that let in the cold air, but he chewed them just the same when he was thinking hard. This time he noticed something very strange about the thumb of his glove. Instead of tasting leathery, it tasted like chocolate. John pulled his thumb out of his mouth. The part of the glove that had been in his mouth was now brown instead of black like the rest. He bit the end of his leather thumb again. It came right off in his mouth, leaving his own thumb bare. John chewed, and it was like chewing leather made of chocolate. Leather that melted like chocolate. In a second or two, he swallowed it. The gloves were not new. John had had them quite a while. He couldn't understand why he had never thought of eating them before. He tried to tear off one of the fingers, but the leather was too strong for him. He put it into his mouth, and it immediately turned into chocolate. Then he was able to break it off easily. He popped it into his mouth and chewed it up and swallowed it. It was delicious. Walking along, devouring his glove, John did not notice one of his schoolfellows, Spider Wilson, until he heard his voice. "Hey, John's gone crazy! John's gone crazy!" Spider yelled. Then he turned on John. Don't they feed you where you live? He sneered. Spider was in the grade just above John's and was one of the meanest and slyest boys in the whole school. John gulped down a large piece of the second glove's palm and looked pleased. What's the matter? Spider demanded. Do your people make you eat leather? This is special leather, John said. He licked his lips and sighed contentedly. It turns into chocolate as soon as you put it in your mouth. Look. John bit off the glove's little finger and took it out of his mouth. Now it's chocolate. He put it back into his mouth and gulped it down. Give me a piece, Spider said. Here's Spider and John. Uh-oh. Hang on. See, if you touch it, it changes pages, so I've got to be careful. Spider and John. Why should I? John wanted to know. They're my gloves. Hand over a piece, Spider said. Do I eat your gloves? John asked reasonably. His mouth was full of chocolate. Should you eat mine? Why should you? Those aren't real gloves, Spider said. Whenever one person has candy, he has to share it with the others. That's the club rule. What club? John asked. Never mind what club, Spider said. But you'd better let me have some of that chocolate. Without waiting longer, Spider snatched what was left of the second club. John was too surprised to resist, and he didn't want to anyhow. He had a feeling that he'd had enough chocolate for a while. He was getting a bit thirsty. Spider ran only a little way ahead. When he saw that John wasn't going to fight to get the glove back, he started to eat his prize. He stuffed the leather into his mouth and took a big bite. Spider stopped short in his tracks. He frowned a bit deep into the leather and bit deep into the leather again. Ugh! Ugh! Disgusting. It tasted worse than just leather. It tasted like leather with which a boy had made mud pies and snowballs and patted old dogs. John thought perhaps he might be getting late for school, so he started running. He left Spider Wilson, spitting the soggy remains of the glove into the gutter, still giggling to himself about the defeat of the enemy. John walked between the great stone pillars at the entrance of the school grounds. He had gone no more than halfway to the main building when he heard Susan Buttercup calling him. She was standing near the jungle gym with some of her friends. I've got something to show you, John, she shouted. As she came running to meet him, he could see that she was waving something in her hand that flashed as it caught the rays of the sun. It was a silver dollar. It's a birthday present, she explained, showing him the dollar. Isn't it beautiful? The sight of such wealth made John forget the triumphs of his own day. It's a good present, he said. Are you sure it's made of silver, though? I once got a whole bag of gold coins in a Christmas stocking, only they were chocolate coins covered with gold paper. Of course it's real, silly. My daddy said so. You can feel it if you don't believe me. She handed him the coin. John looked at the coin suspiciously. All right, Susan said. Bite it. If you think it isn't real, go on and bite it. John felt rather silly. I can see it's real now, he said. I don't have to bite it. But I want you to, Susan insisted. You weren't sure? Well, make sure. That's what they always do on television. When a cowboy wants to make sure a dollar's real, he bites it. John put the dollar about. Before he does this, I'm not sure this is a good idea. And I don't think Susan knows what's getting ready to happen. I bet you know. John put the dollar about halfway into his mouth and reluctantly bit it. His teeth went right through the coin. The part that had passed between his lips was hard but sweet chocolate. Susan could hardly believe her eyes. She had given John a complete circle of silver. He sadly handed back a crescent. John didn't know what to say. Susan couldn't speak. Tears trickled down her cheeks like rain down a window pane. She looked at the piece of dollar in her hand. She looked up at John, whose face was red with embarrassment. John Midas, Susan blurted out at last. I hate you. She turned and ran away before John could think of anything at all to say. And with that, we'll stop right there. Join us next time to find out what happens to John while he's at school. I'm not sure this is going to go so well for John. We'll have to wait and see. See you next time.